the administration has been very successful so far, or mostly successful so far, in batting away this issue and describing it as a marginal thing, something that only fetishists are interested in. But House Republicans say, then let us fetishize away, and they are now getting ready to hold hearings, and they're getting ready to bring forward whistleblowers, and on it goes. How will this play out? And we, of course, do not care about the quest for truth. We care about political consequence here on Power Play. So I can think of no better people to bring to the discussion than David Mercer. He is a Democratic strategist and former Deputy National Finance Director for the Democratic National Committee, and not in charge of having short titles. David Mercer, welcome back. And Charles Hurt. He's a columnist for the Washington Times and an eminent personage of Capitol Hill.
I take exception to that introduction, actually.
Why so?
Because I'm all about policy. I'm a policy.
You're
and
a
the
wonk.
truth.
Yeah.
And the truth.
Oh, now I've known you for too long to get into all that. Okay, now here's the question. The Republicans, David, have not been successful. They tried during the election.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Not successful.
Don't take his lines. They tried during the election. They've been trying since then to try to make this issue of Benghazi stick. And while polls show that Americans generally think something smells about the whole deal and they have some concerns about it, it's not a front burner kind of thing. Is it possible now, as you get into hearings and as you do stuff, this starts to move up the chain of public interest?
I don't think so, and it seems like they're stepping on their various agendas. You got McCain and Lindsey Graham and others talking Syria and trying to coax the president into one action or another without a full study and preparation for it, which the president is doing now. And I think, Benghazi occurred. To have Benghazi hearings when we're trying to formulate what we're going to do with Syria, I think is stepping on various messages. And I think Syria will remain at the top, especially with allies like Turkey and Israel and Jordan and the concerns in the Middle East over it. And the Benghazi deal, look, the purpose of this hearing is supposedly to put some substance to allegations that whistleblowers are being curtailed from sharing testimony. There's no evidence of that. It's of what I would consider a rumor at this point, and I don't see that kind of a story taking over from Syria and the other issues that we got to address.
Brother Hurt, we just talked to Dana Perino about the question of how could the president not, he called on daggone Ed Henry. What did he think Ed Henry was going to ask him about? He was going to ask him about global warming? No, he called on Ed Henry first. Shouldn't he have been equipped to say, this is an answer I have on the Benghazi thing that you guys have been reporting on with screaming sirens for 2 days. Don't you think he should have had something better to say than, I haven't heard anything about this. What are you talking about, Ed Henry?
Unless it was the truth.
Well, but no, I mean, even then it shouldn't have been incumbent, at least on Jay Carney, to have said, by the way, that's what he's going to ask you.
Absolutely, and it sort of underscores this notion that they kind of have their head in the sand over at the White House. But I also kind of actually agree with David. I think that because you have the Boston bombing situation, which was obviously a disaster, and because you have the Syria thing, which is a brewing nightmare for the administration, it does get complicated quickly. But you also have another problem, and that is that liberals are so much better at expressing outrage over foreign situations than I think conservatives are. And for that reason, I think it's kind of hard to see how the Benghazi thing gets super good traction among anyone other than people who already hate the president or dislike the president.
They're already sold.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, David, you mentioned Syria.
Yes.
And so the New York Times and CBS News did a poll. And Christine, let's take a look at that. U.S. responsibility for what's going on in Syria, which is basically a genocide. More than 70,000 people have been killed by the Alawite religious minority in that country, led by Bashar al-Assad. Maybe have used chemical weapons. maybe.
But we don't know the
chain of evidence.
Chain of
Remember the
evidence.
chain
We're
of
not
evidence.
sure.
We're not sure who deployed it
who
against
deployed it exactly.
It might have been the Red Cross.
As the Onion said, as the guy was dying of chlorine gas inhalation, he said, "Well, surely this means that help is on its way." But here's what the New York Times CBS poll said: does the U.S. have responsibility for Syria? Yes, 24%. No, 62%. And so, David, here's the question: some conservatives, and these are of the neoconservative flavor and the Neapolitan ice cream.
The ones that brought us into Iraq?
Yeah. Some conservatives of the McCain, Lindsey Graham-ish nature think that it's time that we get involved in Syria, that we need a no-fly zone, we need to do stuff. But most liberals, this is much like, and we talked about this here before, Bill Clinton, when asked what his greatest regret of his presidency was, and he had some options, chose the question of, chose the point of not preventing the genocide in Rwanda. That he looked back on it, because he could have dropped the 101st Airborne in there and dealt with that in pretty fast fashion.
It sounds so neat and simple when you do it in retrospect.
Yeah, absolutely.
It
go
is
back
as
to
we're talking
97.
here,
Right, back in 97, it was not a problem, Charlie, not a problem. Can the president, relying on a number like this, that the broad majority of Americans say, Syria, Shmeria, can the president continue to resist action there?
Well, first, let's establish that there has been action taken. There's $400 billion that's gone into humanitarian aid. We know of the problems being caused with refugees into Turkey and elsewhere. There's also $250 million that's gone in on non-lethal aid. So there have been steps taken.
But the slaughter is still ongoing.
This is a 2-year civil war that is ongoing. As we are trying as we have in Iraq, withdraw down there and bring troops home and do the same in Afghanistan, to do so just out of a knee-jerk reaction into Syria, when we're also working with Turkey, Jordan, and Israel on that. And let's be mindful that in his visit to Israel and through to today, the Israelis have not asked for intervention. Jordan wants a political solution. Turkey would like the same. But there's also being preparations, as we now know, with the Pentagon and others, on what are the options that we can exercise that will maintain goodwill with our allies, at the same time be effective in bringing to a close this civil war.
Brother Hurt, we blew Muammar Gaddafi's fez clean off over threatening to kill some people. And that he didn't succeed. And he said the streets of Benghazi would flow with blood, and he's kind of crazy. And we did the deal there. Syria, this is an unending nightmare by that standard.
Because of where it sits.
Well, right, because the Syrian people who are getting killed have the misfortune to live where they live.
There are no good options for President Obama regarding Syria, and with the situation with Gaddafi, you do that a couple of times, and he's going to start losing his support from the humanitarian liberals that have put him in office. But here's the problem. I would say that all of these situations are very complex, obviously.
Right. Yes.
And I would go back to the start of the Iraq War when we went into Iraq, and then Democrats decided that they were going to politicize it and try to run a couple of campaigns off of it. The first one failed, John Kerry. Then the second one worked out very well for Obama. He won.
Don't forget about 06.
But let's say on politicizing it, WMD is there, but then WMD is not.
All that's fine. But my simple point is that these are very complex situations, and the politicization of it, on either side, and I think even to some degree it could go to Benghazi. I'm not sure, but it's a very sort of tawdry affair.
Let us move from that lamentation of tawdriness to another, and let us hear what the president had to say about his health insurance program.
For the 85 to 90% of Americans who already have health insurance, this thing's already happened. And their only impact is that their insurance is stronger, better, more secure than it was before. Full stop. That's it. They don't have to worry about anything else.
And David, that was the president saying, this is as good as it's going to get on the Obamacare. He said, just to look at the poll about where they are, we know we have the poll from the Kaiser Family Foundation. So 42 people don't even think the law exists. 42% of people
amazing.
are like, what law? It doesn't exist. I thought they repealed that. And then
That's the Republican message machine for you.
exactly. They've spread the alarm so effectively that people think that it's long gone. And then here's what the Fox News poll out today said. If you had to cast an up or down vote on the 2010 healthcare law, what would you say? 54 say repeal the law. 41 say keep the law in place. Is this really as good as it gets? That's what I wrote in my column. If you follow
good as it
me
gets.
at
That's
Twitter,
great.
this is as good as
Let me
this
add
is
a
as good
couple
as it
things.
gets.
One,
Okay. Caveats.
the Kaiser poll found also that 33% of the people of their poll want to see a repeal, which is way down from where it's been.
But if you
it was
add
also
in the people
in the
who want it
Kaiser.
substantially changed, when you give people options, some say repeal, some people say
And we've all
substantially.
given to the fact that whatever changes need to be made, we're open to changes.
What?
We're not.
What?
We were for
Whoa.
the Supreme Court
Did you catch that? I heard
establishing
that.
the constitutionality, but that doesn't mean there are not going to be adjustments to the plan. And
I heard that. Charlie, did you hear what I just heard?
You want me to say it again?
Charlie, did you hear that?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, if you were listening more closely, you would have heard that he just said whatever changes need to be made, speaking in
And there
a
are
definitive
changes being,
sense.
just as he announced in his press conference. There was a 20-page application. It's now down to 3 pages.
Daggone.
There are a lot of
Mercer.
and we also have to work with all the states in trying to get the exchanges set up, which aren't going to go into effect until 2014 for all intents and purposes. But the thing that is working is for the mother who had a pre-existing condition, she's now can't be refused health care. The son of a family whose father
Except
may be
that currently
employed.
that fund is bankrupted.
What do you mean?
The pre-existing condition.
The pre-existing condition fund is broke,
yeah.
and they're underfunded. And the Republicans have a
Underfunded.
bill.
Which is the
Right,
the
that's correct.
overarching problem. I mean, Matt, the guy that wrote the bill says it's going to be a train wreck to implement. And that's the good part. The bad part is that once it gets implemented, it's not going to work. It's going to fall apart, and we just pray that it doesn't cost too much money before it falls.
That's a
apart.
projection, and at
It
the
is a
same time,
projection, and
Kaiser also found in with a memo attached to that poll that the rate of expense or cost increasing has slowed dramatically, contrary to what a lot of people
All right,
believe.
so I want you guys to test the premise quickly of my column today. Again, follow me at C. Starwalt. Follow me at C. Starwalt. You have the
It's a
column.
good column.
All right,
It always is.
Thank you, gentlemen. So I'm going to test this premise, and my premise is this. The president says, I ate dessert in 2012. We put the good stuff at the beginning, and now he's looking at Democrats who got their fannies paddled in 2010 over this law, and now he's looking at these same Democrats and saying, guess what? It's your turn again. I ate dessert in 2012 and said your pre-existing conditions. Now in 2014, you guys are going to have to defend the Kraken as it rises up out of the ocean. Democrats are going to run away from this.
Well, look at with regard to what Charles said about the Republican message machine. In talking about the individual mandate, that's all the people really know right now. They don't know about the other elements of the bill,
and they don't know.
And the Supreme Court has sanctioned
Quickly,
that, so
Charlie,
it's
quickly,
over
Charlie,
with.
quickly.
The next time I'm having an argument with my wife, I'm going to use the term full stop.
Full stop. Full stop.
And I'm going to see if I
Full
win.
stop, Mrs. Hurd. I don't think you. I think you'll get a full stop of sleeping upstairs. You'll be on the couch. Okay, guys. We thank you very much for
Pleasure.
being with us
Thank
today.
you.
On the Hunt with Jonathan Hunt is up next. How about some mid-century PowerPoints? Shall we? Hut Ike. Those are your PowerPoints for today. Let's take a look at the video released of the proposed Eisenhower Memorial. It's weird. And it's controversial. It's got what looks like giant mosquito netting and all kinds of stuff. It's kind of cool looking, though. But people don't like it because it doesn't cast Eisenhower in the same sort of heroic relief that the statue of Grant, particularly, great General Grant, in front of the Congress does, him on bestride the horse with a Cashin to the left and infantrymen to the right. So where's the Ike at D-Day? Well, they can fight that out later. But